Where does magic come from? Look around. You'll find it everywhere. It's there when you're sleeping and in your first waking moment. There on your way to work, nurturing new experiences with family and friends. But magic doesn't just happen. Magic is made. Throughout history, it's been born of sweat and toil, calluses and frustration, a deep curiosity, the need to push ourselves, and then push a little harder, until finally, a new revelation begins to reveal itself, or an unexpected eureka appears in an instant. And once it arrives, perseverance takes hold. You rethink, rework, and refine. Try, fail, start again. Only then, after effort has turned inspiration into innovation, are you ready, really ready, to change our lives. Because that's when the magic happens. And it's not hard to recognize. It's there in the glow. It's in a stride. In our ears. In our grasp. Magic. Wherever it comes from, you've conjured it. And once again, magic has made its way here. Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association, Gary Shapiro.
Thank you. Are you CES ready? All right. So here we are, kicking off the planet's largest business event and its largest tech event. This week, you will see the technologies of the future. This is, without a doubt, my best week of the whole year. There is nothing that even comes close to CES. It's a networking event that brings together scrappy startups and world-famous brands. It's a global stage that spotlights leaders, innovators, and visionaries in the tech world. It's a five-sense experience for attendees to see, touch, and engage with the latest innovations. It's a proving ground for tech from 5G to AR to VR. Now, last night, we heard a great opening keynote from LG President and CTO Dr. IP Park. He talked about the future of AI. This morning, we will hear from IBM Chairman, President, and CEO Ginni Rometty about how tech will transform how we work and live. And there are many other innovators and visionaries who are here at CES. What you'll see this week is that every company is or is becoming a tech company. Some of them you know, Intel, Amazon, Google, IBM, but we have health insurance companies, automakers, and even sports leagues here. To tell us more about what's lighting up CES 2019, please welcome CTA's Executive Vice President of CES, Karen Chupka.
Well, thank you, Gary. I'm so excited to be back here in Las Vegas. And I don't know about you, but I've been CES ready for, I guess, a couple days now. Well, we say this every year, and every year it's true. This is our best show ever. We have more than 4,500 exhibitors, 1,200 startups, and every major and emerging industry is represented in Las Vegas this week, from more than 155 countries, regions, and territories. And they're all here to experience life-changing technology, including some companies from industries that you actually wouldn't expect to see at CES. For instance, we have farm equipment manufacturer John Deere, who's showcasing new technology this week. And we have some other first-time exhibitors, including Procter & Gamble, JD.com, and Raytheon. And we also have an incredible lineup of keynote speakers for you this week. We have two of the world's largest wireless carriers here, both AT&T and Verizon, who are going to talk about 5G technology and how it's going to help blend our physical and our digital worlds. And we also have AMD President and CEO, Dr. Lisa Su, who's going to describe applications for new computing technologies, especially as it relates to gaming. And you're not going to get a lineup of leaders like this anywhere else in the world other than here at CES. You know, no networking opportunity can hold a candle to CES. We actually estimate that attending CES saves executives 3.4 billion miles of travel each year. And attendees average over 33 meetings during the week of the show. And CES is the only show that helps bring together multiple industries from multiple different countries. And you know, they're not just here to strut their stuff, but they're here to build new businesses, solve problems, and help strengthen society. So what are you going to see this week at CES? Well, CES is the home to breakthrough technologies that touch every aspect of our lives, from our home to transportation, work, and everything in between. And more to the point, CES is the place where we figure out how all these elements of daily life are interconnected and how we can make them faster, stronger, and safer. Smart cities at CES is a perfect example of this. Smart cities can help us create a more sustainable and livable world, from connected roads to smart street lamps and to smart grid technology. And CES is the only show where the entire 5G and mobile ecosystems come together, making smart cities a true reality. Transportation is also a key part of a smart city. And here we're showcasing tech that makes cars safer, keeps drivers more connected than ever before. And in fact, CES is one of the largest, actually the top auto shows in the world. We have more than 170 exhibitors just in the auto ecosystem here this week. And it covers almost 4 American football fields of exhibit space. You're going to experience the latest in concept cars, connected vehicles, and self-driving technology. And the auto industry is also launching a national consumer education campaign on self-driving cars. And on Wednesday, Waymo CEO John Krafchick is going to keynote our Leaders in Technology dinner. Everywhere you look this week, you're also going to see a focus on AI and robotics. Companies across all industries are going to be unveiling AI solutions, from self-driving cars to digital health and to digital assistants. And you're also going to see a greater emphasis on healthcare this week. Today's innovations are transforming healthcare in 2 major ways. First, they're helping to put the control back into the hands of the consumer. And secondly, they're tackling real-world problems like mental health, chronic disease, and actually managing pain without drugs. Most of us now are wearing some type of wearable, and these health devices and monitors help us stay actively engaged and in control of our own well-being. And Digital Health at CES will explore advancements in digital therapeutics. And for the first time ever at a tech event, doctors and medical professionals can earn continuing medical education credits here this week at CES. Well, you know, many of the companies I talked about so far I've mentioned by brand names. And brands are a huge part of the technology discussion. CES not only helps companies expose their brands, but it's also where brands come together to learn more about the technology that's going to transform their customers' lives. And C-Space explores how disruptive trends in the future of brands, marketing, and entertainment. It features some of the world's most forward-thinking companies and their speakers, including our new CMO Insights conference track. It's where we have top CMOs who are discussing the platforms that they're going to use in 2019 and why they're using them. And this year, right next to C-Space, is the CES Sports Zone, and it's where technology and sports converge. Athletes and sports leagues have struck all kinds of deals and partnerships with technology companies, and are doing this because they want to help improve the way athletes train and to also adapt the way that the fans can consume sports. And our Sports Zone showcases what's next for the quantified athlete, smart venues, next-generation sponsorships, immersive media, and of course, esports. There's so much synergy between what's taking place in a Sports Zone and C-Space. So integrating them together at the ARIA will help expedite the transformation of sports. And stay tuned this week because we're going to have a special announcement from Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on our own Sports Zone stage. And of course, we have another can't-miss area here at CES, and that's actually located just downstairs, and that's Eureka Park. It's the biggest startup event on the planet. We have more than 1,200 companies, startups actually down there from 50 countries. And startups highlight the reason that CES exists, so that anyone with an idea can exhibit, connect, and meet media, investors, and potential partners. This is the promise of CES. We showcase today's innovation, and we inspire innovators. We connect entrepreneurs and future leaders. We are the place where ideas have an opportunity to become a reality. And we give the industry the opportunity to shape the future. Well, speaking of the future, let's bring Gary back on stage. I hope you all enjoy your week in Las Vegas, and I will see you around.
Thank you, Karen. What an amazing show. It's clear that the ideas and innovations we'll see this week are shaping our future. Among them, 8K ultra-high definition television, taking Ultra HD technology to the next level. 8K Ultra HD offers 4 times the resolution of 4K Ultra HD without pixelation. And we still expect 4K Ultra HD to dominate larger screen segments of at least the US TV market for years, but in CTA's first ever forecast for 8K Ultra HD, we expect Americans to buy 200,000 units this year. CTA is home to 8K Ultra HD industry players across the ecosystem, and our members include the manufacturing, content, and entertainment sectors. And that's why we're working with TV makers on a display definition for 8K Ultra HD. Stay tuned. Now let's talk about the future for a few minutes. At CES 2013, I launched CTA's best-selling book, Ninja Innovation. I'm constantly challenging myself and others to think like a ninja. Ninjas do the unexpected, and in so doing, they produce value. That value can be survival, a successful product launch, an agreement, or a deal. It can mean greater revenue, lower costs, increased efficiency, better results, or happier customers. It can result in almost anything, but it does require innovation. Our very survival as a species is due to our unique ability to innovate. We're different from other species, also in our ability to create our own destruction. But we can also change course and ensure that we can continue to innovate and thrive. In these days, a whole lot of people wonder whether we will continue to thrive. In some ways, let's be honest, the future looks a little bit grim. Disease, climate change, debt, social upheaval, war, natural disasters, and even government shutdowns loom large. If we're going to navigate all these complexities, we need to think and act like ninjas. So I'm thrilled to launch CTA's new book, Ninja Future, here at CES 2019. I want to thank my wife for starting the applause. Now, the only certainty about the future is disruption. And we're entering a very new era of innovation. The pace of change is accelerating at speeds unlike anything we've ever experienced. Technology already powers nearly everything we do. We avoid traffic, buy merchandise, summon transportation, and we stay in constant touch with our friends and family. We monitor our heart rate and track our sleep. Indeed, you may think I'm walking up and down the stage because I'm thoughtful. We actually have a contest among our employees to see who can get the most steps, and this is how I'm coming ahead. We talk to a smart speaker and turn up the heat. We set our alarms and listen to music. And in our business, tech helps us track inventory, streamline operations, inspect and maintain equipment, and connect with customers faster and more seamlessly than ever. I actually believe we're going to solve more fundamental human problems in the next 2 decades than we have in the last 2 centuries. Self-driving vehicles will cut accidents and fatalities. We'll increase food production and clean water to support our growing population. We'll outsource dangerous work to robots, and we'll transform medicine from diagnostics to surgery. But we know that innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. Things, people, governments, financial networks, and cultures are all intertwined. A breakthrough technology or even a new law that impacts one nation or industry will soon impact others. Gone are the days of discrete vertical technology silos like TV, audio, cars, or even phones. This shift has become increasingly apparent right here at CES. All these things are now interconnected. So we need to think ourselves horizontally. How can technology power an entire ecosystem, from a home to a city to a country? To flourish, we must reach across industries, across international borders, and even across the political aisle to create innovation-friendly work and regulatory environments. So what I try to do in Ninja Future is connect the dots from past to present to future and give a 360-degree view of the latest tech trends and talk about the most effective policies to promote innovation or to throttle it. The fact is that openness to innovation differs wildly from nation to nation. Yet many of the products on display here today are truly international. They're designed in one country, built in another, with components from a third, before they're shipped out and sold everywhere. Industries are no longer siloed in countries. We're living in a global economy, and that's why tariffs are harming our economy. And tariffs are nothing more than taxes. Now, at CTA, we've been tracking how countries support innovation. Last year on this stage, we launched our International Innovation Scorecard. It graded 38 countries and the EU across 12 different criteria, all transparent, all on our website. This year, I am pleased to announce we expanded the International Scorecard to rate more than 60 countries across 25 different indicators. The scorecard shows that human progress thrives in countries where governments are open to new ideas, where there's broadband, where people enjoy freedom, and where environmental stewardship is a priority. We are thrilled to have cabinet-level officials with us here today from 3 of our innovation champion countries, the top quartile. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Secretary Mona Kaiser, Secretary Dr. Liam Fox, and Minister Miley's Reps. Help me here. Okay. This is Estonia.
Wow.
The UK. And the Netherlands.
Thank you very much.
So, I have a question for each of you. What is it that makes your country innovative, in 1 minute or less?
Being open, being flexible, being smart, being risk-taking, and at the same time extremely open for anything.
Thank you. Dr. Fox.
Well, the UK, I think it's understanding that innovation is key to our commercial success and our prosperity, but also the well-being of our people. The UK has natural advantages, our legal system, the flexibility of our workforce, our permissive regulatory and taxation environments. 4 of the top 10 global universities. We're in a great time zone for trading. We speak English, and we've got gold standard IP protection.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fox. Secretary Kaiser.
Thank you very much. Well, as most of you know, the Netherlands is almost for a big part beneath sea level. So without the Dutch spirit of innovation, we would all be swimming. And no country to visit, and that would really be a shame for you here on the other side of the Atlantic, of course. If most of you probably also know that Wi-Fi, CD, DVD, submarines were co-invented with the Dutch. And now I will be very bold, all of the things which are exhibited here today, Silicon Valley, it runs on chips, or at least most of them run on chips, made in the Netherlands. And I'm bold because I'm very proud. They are manufactured in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands, by a company called ASML. So, those are 3 reasons why I think we are very innovative, and you're very welcome to visit the Dutch Spirit of Innovation at the Dutch Pavilion. Look for the color orange. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I also want to point out, Secretary, that I can't resist adding two things. One, we have CS Unveiled Amsterdam, which you helped us launch. And also, you have brought royalty with you, who's been here for a few years now. Prince Constantine is in the audience. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm very happy that he's with us.
So thank you, all of you, and congratulations. Keep up the great work. We hope to see you next year, and enjoy CES. Thanks for being our guest. Let's hear it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there's no question that technology is truly global, as we've just seen. Last month, I was in Montreal, attending a G7 conference on artificial intelligence. I heard academics, privacy advocates, and government policy types happily agreeing with each other that every product with AI must be cyber risk-free, must protect privacy, must have transparency totally in all its algorithms, must promote diversity and inclusion, and must immediately bring up 100% of the population. Now, what I didn't hear was any discussion about how AI will improve our lives, solve health and societal problems, or even help keep our planet clean. Nor did I hear that countries like China, which have a different view of privacy and human rights than the G7 countries, are better poised to take advantage of AI. We do have to discuss some really tough issues. We have to talk about how we protect our citizens, but we must do so in the context of global views on liberty, privacy, and how data can be used. We need a smart government approach to emerging technology, not one that's restrictive and immediately confining. Innovation has to find its own path and grow like a tree. And if we cut off different limbs, we will suffer as humans, and frankly, our economies will suffer. We need to promote partnerships between the public and private sectors, so the government's working with industries, because consumers want products and services that they know they can trust. And we do need regulation. We need regulations that sets national ground rules without choking innovation and competition. And there's no question that industry has a huge role to play in public policy. Last year on this keynote stage, we pledged as an American industry to meet or exceed emission reductions consistent with the Paris Environmental Accord. And I'm pleased to announce today that we're launching a program to track our progress as an industry in how much we emit in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. We'll also, thank you. We'll also recognize companies who actually reduce their impact on the climate, and we'll recognize those whose technologies are helping other industries reduce their emissions. At the Consumer Technology Association, we believe the industry is also in another challenge. It's a race for talent. Research shows the most successful and innovative companies are led by diverse teams. Research also shows that people naturally invest in people who look and act like them. So women and diverse founders don't always attract the same level of venture funding as other founders. That's why I'm pleased to announce today that CTA will invest $10 million in venture firms and funds that are focused on underrepresented founders, women-led startups, and diverse leadership teams. The environment, diversity, trade, privacy, the promise of AI, these are issues that affect all of us. Tomorrow's technology can connect us and help us like never before. We shouldn't throw caution to the wind, but neither should we be paralyzed by fear of what the future might bring. As I wrote Ninja Future, I spent a lot of time imagining what the future would look like. And there's things that we know and we can predict pretty accurately, but there will always be the unknowns. And not knowing does spark anxiety naturally in all of us. And that's why we're seeing a new focus on resilience. You'll see and hear a lot about resilience this week. Resilience depends on technology and connectivity. Think about it. In emergency situations, we go straight to our smartphones to tell friends and family we're safe. So we need to prepare and plan seriously to withstand cultural, economic, and societal shifts. Dr. Carmichael Roberts is the founder of Material Impact, a fund that invests in technologies that solve real-world problems. Technologies like zero mass water, which converts sunlight and air into potable drinking water. He summed it up perfectly. Resilient technologies are those that, even in the face of adversity, keep the world healthy, safe, warm, powered, fed, and secure. Resilience tech is actually on display for the first time at CES. It's on the show floor, and it's in our conference programming. And you can catch Dr. Robert Carmichael on stage today at 11 a.m. in our Resilience conference track. Now, CES is unlike any other environment you've experienced. Over the years, I've heard hundreds of stories of companies forming business relationships that change their bottom line just by coming to CES. You can't predict what you'll see, whom you'll meet, or most important, what ideas you'll generate. At its core, innovation is about surprise. It's often a random series of happy accidents. So be open to serendipity. CES is about the unexpected. Take a stroll through Eureka Park. Go to a panel or part of the show that has nothing to do with what you do. Make a conscious effort to get out of your lane and talk to people with different areas of expertise. Others' experience and wisdom may be the spark you need to light your way. And this week, you'll be surrounded by the most innovative people and products in the world. And I guarantee that as you walk the show floor, you will be gripped by the excitement and potential and sheer beauty of the ideas and innovations that are on display. And I challenge you to harness all of that to help build a world where everyone has access to more opportunities, improved health, and better experiences. We can't know the future, but we can still shape it, and that's what CES is all about. You're here, and you are CES ready. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce our opening keynote speaker. Ginni Rometty is Chairman, President, and CEO of IBM. Ginni has been named to Bloomberg's 50 most influential people in the world, as well as Time's 20 most important people in tech. Also, Fortune's 50 most powerful women in business and Forbes' America's top 50 women in tech. Since becoming CEO in January 2012, Ginni has led IBM through the most significant transformation in its 100-year-plus history, reinventing the company to lead in the new era of AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and quantum technologies, all delivered on IBM's enterprise-strength cloud platform. At the same time, Ginni is working to ensure that new technologies are developed and deployed in an ethical and enduring way. This includes equipping workers for new roles and creating new education models and alternative paths to jobs in emerging technology fields. And IBM's commitment to diversity and inclusion also has advanced under Ginni's leadership. Her pioneering work was recognized last year by the prestigious Catalyst Award for advancing diversity in women's initiatives, marking the 4th time IBM has received this award, unmatched in the marketplace. As the world leader in AI and cloud computing for business, underpinned with trust and security, IBM is putting smart to work for all of us and literally changing how the world works.
What a world we live in. A world that's creating AI-enabled everything. That's generating 43 million terabytes of data every day. That's democratizing the power of cloud computing. A world that has more IoT-enabled objects than it has people. Technology today is smart, but is smart enough? You have to know how to apply it, how to train it, how to trust it, to make it not just smart, but secure. So let's get to it. Let's do more than create smart technology. Let's put smart to work. Let's put AI to work to help fight 357 million cyber threats to keep the world's data safe. Let's put blockchain to work in 2 billion shipments to help ensure food safety and eliminate paperwork. Let's put the cloud to work for 36 million passengers to help make every flight a little smoother. Let's put quantum computing to work for 75,000 developers, scientists, and students to help solve the unsolvable. Let's put smart to work for telecom and transit, for banking and biochemistry, for farming and pharmacology, for accounting and the arts. Let's build smarter businesses armed with intelligent platforms, intelligent processes, intelligent people. Let's build a smarter future, not just for a few of us, but for all of us. Let's put smart to work.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ginni Rometty. Welcome to CES.
Thank you, my friend. So, Gary, thank you. That is not only is a kind introduction, this is my second time back to Keynote CES, so I am really happy to be here. It is such an inspiring show. It is great to see so many of you here. And I have to say, one of the reasons I love to come here, I think everybody's a technology optimist, pretty much here. And so, as I thought about what to do with my keynote this morning, I thought I would cover what's next. It's a topic I'm obsessed about, IBM is obsessed about, whether it's 5 years out, 10 years out, 50 years out. You know, we've had the honor, you saw some of it up on the video here, we've had the honor to help put the man on the moon, we've had the honor to help invent the barcode, the ATM, help break AI out of its winter, most recently with Watson. I'm really proud that today, for the 26th time, we were awarded the #1 patents in the US, more in cloud, AI, quantum than anyone out there. And, well, I have a friendly crowd. And it's also what's really led us, in something I wanted to mention to an audience that's particularly relevant to you, it's what's led us to play a leading role in open source technologies. Our role goes back to the 90s, whether it was with Linux or Apache or Eclipse, and today what we do with the cloud, with quantum and blockchain. And I mention open because almost every consumer device is all based on open source technologies. And we'll be helping you take that to the next level with our most recently announced acquisition of Red Hat. So simply put, I'd like to share some of the innovation that I feel is so strong in IBM's DNA. And as I know this is a consumer show, we're not necessarily a consumer company. As I always say though, you don't always see us, but you do rely on us underneath. So in that context, let me set up my opening in 3 big what next sections. So first is, what's next for data? And I'm going to introduce a new source of data to you, something called deep data. Then I want to talk about what's next for computing. Let me shed some light on something called broad AI. And then I'd like to introduce the first complete quantum system. This is not a lab experiment, it's not just a chip, it is a full system. And then third, I'd like to talk about what's next for society. Gary teed this up. I'd like to talk about the role all of us have to play to really help prepare society to participate in this era. So it's a lot to do in a quick hour, but I am going to have fun. I'm going to have fun. I hope you have fun, actually. That's probably more important. But we're going to have fun. It's going to go fast. I'm going to be joined by some great friends and leaders of companies that you know well. Delta, Walmart, ExxonMobil. All work we're doing together that can help change the way the world works. And it's their stories and our stories that'll come together. So let me start with what's next. You know, I go back in time, and for years I have said, data will be the world's greatest natural resource. It's a great analogy. There's lots of it. Value doesn't always go to who owns it. And in fact, when I say lots, you know, it's hard to go to any presentation that doesn't quote a number. There's 2.5 quadrillion bytes of data today. So you would be sitting here thinking, we don't need more. But you would be surprised. Actually, an interesting factoid for a cocktail conversation. We estimate that less than 1% of the data that the world is actually emitting and putting out there is actually collected and actually analyzed. Now, I do not mean dark data. People often talk about that, having a whole lot of it that's not analyzed. Deep data is data that's not yet collected and it's not yet analyzed. But if you could, some really wonderful things could be learned. So let me give you a couple examples, 3. One is, what do you think our fingernails say about us? The movement, the bend, the vibration, pressure. Well, IBM Research announced a sensor that put on your fingernail, it senses these things. Coupled with AI, it's leading us towards early diagnosis of Parkinson's and of schizophrenia. So as part of being out here today, we are announcing a partnership with the Michael J. Fox Foundation to take this to the next step. But more data, deep data, it can actually really heighten the kind of predictions and forecasts you're going to get. So Gary mentioned a lot about healthcare. When I happened to have been here in my last visit at CES, I was joined on stage by Medtronic. So everybody knows someone with diabetes. Together we built a product called Sugar IQ. It was for diabetes management. And Watson, our AI, would monitor your continuous flow and your blood all coming through this. Well, just last week, Sugar IQ cast, C-A-S-T, like forecast. You add everything from food, from sleep, with more AI, and it's a forecast for your diabetes. And in fact, we now, for the first time ever, through the FDA, through this project, hypoglycemia can be diagnosed and predicted actually 4 hours in advance, so you can do something about it. So that kind of prediction, I mean, speaking of prediction, I think when everyone thinks of predictions, what's the number one, or forecast, what's the number one topic you think of? Weather. Okay, at least somebody I know over here said weather. Oh, somebody might have said football, I don't know about there. That wasn't a good night for that last night. So, and on weather. Now, something I think all of us in the US, we all think weather is the same everywhere in the world or equally forecasted. Not true. Today we're changing that. The weather company, IBM owns the weather company, and we're announcing a global weather prediction system for the most accurate local weather anywhere and everywhere in the world. So something you probably didn't realize, a forecast. Any of your phones, hit it, that's IBM behind that. Every 15 minutes there's a forecast. But forecasts are made up of models and observations from everywhere in the world. What's happening right now? Well, what's new in this announcement is this model will run every hour. You might think every hour. These are very big and complex. Only in the US do they run every hour. The rest of the world, once, twice a day. They'll now run every hour, every 3 kilometers in the entire globe. Then it will be married with, talk about new and deep data, crowdsourced observations, barometric pressure from any cell phone that can now do that. We expect 100 million with consent from the user to be added. Airplanes every 5 seconds data, and all running on the IBM Cloud, Power 9, our systems. These are the systems that run the Department of Energy's #1 supercomputer. And what will that mean? Well, it means if you're a farmer in Kenya or you're a farmer in Kansas, you are going to get a way better weather prediction. It also means if you're on an airplane, if you are on an airplane, you should be able to forecast an hour ahead turbulence. So did anyone have turbulence coming out here? Yeah, I did. Yes. So instead of the pilot lovely saying to you, folks, I'm going to search for another altitude, an hour ahead of flight path. I mean, that's safety, that's fuel, all sorts of things. Well, that introduction brings me to my next guest perfectly with this announcement. So when I talk about deep data and changing an industry, something you all know, it's an industry that relies very much on weather. And someone who is actually making a huge impact of innovation out in his industry. And that, of course, is the airline industry. Delta Airlines, largest airline, 200 million passengers. But what stands out to me about Delta, it is unmatched commitment to customer service. You and I both fly them, the most admired airline, 7 of the past 8 years. So I'm going to welcome Ed Bastian, the CEO, since 2016, by the way, who's been transforming Delta, and one of our great partners, to join me on the stage and talk about that data and what it means to airlines. Ed, please join me. Come on over. Come on over here. So, now look, I mentioned, how many of you flew here? Okay, I mean, you didn't walk. So, although I saw Gary's chart that said he was trying to remove a number of airline flights in the future because of everything they see here. I said to Ed, oh, that's not very good.
That's not good.
And so, but So since everybody flew, I mentioned turbulence,
Yes.
right? And you and I had an interesting talk about it. Let's just start with where you'd expect us to start. An industry everybody identifies with. Talk a little bit about its opportunities and challenges.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. It's
My
great to be here. Delta is a emerging brand in the consumer technology space. People don't think about airlines in that context, but we really are, I think, at not just a revitalization, but a renaissance for the industry in terms of everything that we built and everything that we've endured. Our goal in this industry is to make travel and flying something that customers don't have to endure as they're looking forward to getting to their journey, but really something that's magical and the experience, and bringing some of that magic and life back to the experience. And that's what we're doing here. And we're doing it through reliability, we're doing it through service, we're doing it through innovation, all the types of things that you talked about at the start of your journey. Delta is leading the way, pleased to say. We are the #1 airline just across about every metric. We love CES, by the way. We added 30 flights a day to Vegas just to bring.
Is that your team clapping? Is that what?
I think a lot of people flew here on Delta, including 5 international destinations. We added special flights this week from Shanghai and Seoul and Tokyo and Amsterdam and Paris. So all of you that came here on Delta, I'm sure you had a good part of the journey. But one of the things that we've got to do in our industry is about differentiation. You talk about data, and data is a source of way of leading to differentiation. And I look back at Delta about 2010 in terms of we went through a big merger. We bought Northwest Airlines. We've merged them. We led the industry in consolidation. In 2010, we had a challenge, though, because we said we can't ever get to the point where we can become the premium product provider and service provider to this industry to invest until we were able to take care of the basics. You get the reliability, the infrastructure, the soundness. In 2010, we had no days of the year without a cancellation. We had lots of cancellations that year. In fact, we had 5,600 maintenance cancellations that year.
Horrible for passengers.
Horrible. It's the worst thing that can happen, particularly to business passengers, because time is everything. We set a goal that said we were going to cancel cancellations. How do you do that? We're just not going to. We're going to cancel them. This past year, we just finished in 2018. 251 days of the year we did not have a cancellation.
That is a wonderful.
That's from nothing.
That is wonderful.
And as part of that, our maintenance team is just fabulous. That year back in 2010, we had 5,600 maintenance cancellations. The year we just concluded, we had 55.
Wow.
So a 99% reduction. So when you think about innovation and technology, a lot of it's the process that you can improve upon what you already have. So it's the predictive maintenance technology and the advanced process engineering and the things that we can do that builds that foundation that we can then take and soar from.
Ed said an interesting point where he said, first we had to work on some of the basics. And in this section on deep data and what it's going to mean, something I've always heard and said to clients, you can't have artificial intelligence without an information architecture. So you can't do a lot of this until you go fix the basics.
That's
which
exactly
is
right.
What you really put in place.
Yep.
So Ed has been driving a really great, both technical, digital, technical, but I would also say a cultural transformation. Mm-hmm. So I thought this audience would like to know how you're doing it. Because it's so much, all these technologies, they mean nothing if we don't bring them to life and have all of our people, customers or employees, use them.
Well, the exciting thing at Delta is we're a 90-year-old company. So, and I tell our people all the time, we can't act like we're 90 years old, all right? We can't walk around like we're 90 years old. I just ran the New York Marathon a couple months ago. I feel like I've had a look into the future. I know what 90 feels like, okay?
Yeah, this is not your first time either. You've done it before.
I've done it before, and your congratulations to you with the fingernail thing you're doing with Michael J. Fox. You can work on my toenails next, because they're falling off and they need to be analyzed. Might be some good data in there that you can collect later.
I'll let you work on that.
But we do have the foundation, and we have so much data about our customers, serving 200 million customers a year. But we haven't had the ability, because of the data architecture and the sourcing of how do you get that data to turn it into action for our people to better serve our customers. Just imagine you're sitting on an airplane, a Delta airplane, of course, and you're recognized by our flight attendant when you sit. And Mr. Rometty, thank you for your business. We appreciate your many millions of miles on Delta. what can we serve you today? Would you like your favorite glass of wine? We see that, a few weeks ago, you had a 2-hour delay for a flight. We apologize for that again. Is there anything we can do for you? I mean, so that people know that we know you. When we talk about digital transformation, I think about it as personalizing, because we want to build that relationship with people that only technology can provide when you do it on the scale. Because the other thing that's really important to us is not just building the capability, but in the execution and delivery. There can be nothing worse than actually having the ability to take care of a customer like that, and for your flight attendant or one of your gate agents not to deploy it.
That's right.
Because as a customer, then you know they're not taking care of you. So that's the thing about Delta that's special. We have a culture of service. It's in our DNA, and our people love to serve people. We say we're in the transport business, but we're really in the service business. And so taking that data to take care of those needs and making certain that customers know who you are and how we're going to better serve you. And we're really just at the precipice of that. And there's many, many applications of that. Going to the other side of it, I think about our operations. You talk about the weather, which, congratulations on that as well, because that's fabulous, the innovation that you're driving through the Weather Channel. We look forward to working with you on that. But, one of the things that we've spent the last couple of years on is just gathering all of the information to be able to manage the operations. We built this data lake. And there's literally hundreds of millions, if not billions, of data points that we look at in the course of the operation. We have no ability to retain that high volume and actually be able to access that data. But could you imagine every time you go through an interrupted operation or a weather storm or a snowstorm, and you had the ability to go back and play back the tapes and said, if we made that decision here, we could have saved this flight or we could have done that. It's like watching the game last night.
You want to watch that game over again?
No, one team's going to watch that game over again. And then the other team's going to watch it many, many times over again, right? But, to be able to learn from it. We haven't had the capability to do that. We just finally, this past year, built the data lakes and the ability to start to access that data. And so that the next time we have an event, we're already geared. We're not seat of the pants making decisions on the fly. We're actually got the power of data in our hands.
So talk a little bit about how you've approached the cultural side, right? I think of you a lot with some of these, you've thought small but acted fast. I mean, a little bit of the approach you've taken to this. And then we'll talk about some of the exact innovations Delta's done.
So we do have an innovation center at Georgia Tech. We call it the Hangar. And we talk about think big, start small, and learn fast. That's our motto for that. And we bring academics in, people from the school. We bring students in. We bring venture capital in. We bring our Delta people in. And what we are doing is we're building solutions for problems we know we have. We're not out there creating solutions looking for a problem. We're out there creating solutions for the problems that the business is bringing forward. So that's one way in which we're democratizing innovation and bringing it into the business. We have great partners that we work, including IBM and others, as we think about the digital journey. But the cultural transformation is it's about people. It just is about people, because while our people are our absolute best advantage, technology is their lifeblood. But you always have to think about technology in terms of how your people are going to use it to advance service. I think about another great illustration, loyalty. What do all frequent flyers want? They want the opportunity to upgrade, using their frequent flyer points. And that is always the big mystery to people. How do I get upgraded? How do I get access to it? How do I use my currency? Why can't I use my currency for more than just upgrades or a free flight? Maybe I can buy tickets with it. How can I turn this into... We're working on all of that so that we actually have the power where your people can deploy that technology to make a real difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I think everyone has learned. And again, there's going to be so much about AI at this conference, and we've been at this for a very long time. And I always say many clients have these little random acts of digital and AI all over their company, that until you can really pull together and reimagine how the work is done, you can't scale any of it. And that's what has to happen. And I think some of what you've done with transparency of, where I am on the waiting list, I mean, actually, that's actually better for me to know than to keep asking, where am I, right? So that kind of transparency with all of that data and what you've done. So our sort of big third area of discussion is, so now tell the group, you've kind of talked a lot about, in position, the culture, this desire of customer service is so clear in what you talk about. So the things we've done together to change flying. We've had a very interesting past together, whether it's RFID, baggage, and the like, and what you see in the future. So how you see, I mean, there's many things you guys are doing, so I'll let you pick the ones that we're doing together to talk about.
Well, one thing is artificial intelligence, and I like to say that we've always had a lot of artificial intelligence in our business. Unfortunately, that's all it was artificial. It wasn't real intelligence. So we're actually bringing real intelligence to the table here. You know, a good example your team is helping us think through is, as you know, you may have been on a flight and you're disrupted and you're on your phone at the airport, or your customer care trying to figure out what do I do later. You know, could you imagine if an agent through the screen was able to access that customer's experience with Delta? How important a customer, how many times they travel with us, when was the last? You know, if someone's been disrupted 3 times in the last 6 months, you know, you take special care of that. And you want to know that the first point of contact. You don't want to have to go ask for a manager and escalate. As compared to someone, maybe this is the first time they've had an interruption, or maybe the first time they've traveled in over a year. So how do you care and you feed real time the information so an agent has, you know, a help guide right in front of them relative to that individual? Blockchain. I know you're doing tremendous work in blockchain, and we look forward to learning from you in that as well. Delta just recently received certification as the first passenger carrier to be able to carry a lot of cold, temperature-sensitive pharma materials, whether it be medicines or plasma or other high-temperature, high-sensitive, critical need items on board our planes, on board our cargo. Blockchain gives you full transparency in terms of where that is, when will it arrive, how do you create the transaction to the fidelity of what you're building, with proper government regulation and proper government oversight. Those are a couple things. And I'd say the third thing that we're investing heavily in is our airport experience. You know, with the flying experience, we've done a lot to improve, and I think our flying experience as Delta is the best out there. But you know, the thing that we haven't built in our country in generations
is airports.
Are the airports. And we're very focused on the airports. So in Atlanta, for example, we just launched last year the very first full biometric terminal. So that when and it's an international terminal, the Concourse F, so that when you exit your car, or however you got to the airport, and you get there, it's all facial recognition from that point forward. You don't need your passport, you don't need your ticket, you don't need your ticket locator number. Just through facial recognition, you can get through the journey, and by the way, return back through customs, expediting that journey, and using that biometric experience to transform the entire security apparatus of our airports with TSA. And it's not only a more efficient process, it's also much more effective in terms of catching the people that you're really trying to focus the security around.
Well, you said 2 particular points I want to kind of recap for the whole group here. One was the word transparency. Because when you talked about cargo that is, whether it's medicines, vaccines, the transparency of its safety. And we're going to come back to blockchain here in a second because of all of the information that can be put on it to actually assure me of the safety of where that is. Was it kept cold when it needed to? Did it really not hit something at one point in time and no one can manipulate it at all? The other one I want to come back to, Ed mentioned about weather. And I thought you might want to share with the group here. I mean, weather really, it's the #1 external factor that impacts business. It's a $500 billion impact is weather around the world, not just airlines. And so you and I were talking about the value of what we were talking about, being able to predict turbulence an hour in advance. And thanks to Ed's airplanes, that's one of the things we're getting that deep data from every 5 seconds coming off of airplanes. With that an hour in advance and filing a different flight plan. But I said, isn't that great, that you don't have to experience this? But your first reaction was different. It was safety.
It was about our people, the safety of our people, because we still, unfortunately, people get injured when you get into turbulence because it comes unexpected. You might hit a pocket from time to time. Our flight attendants may be up serving a meal, and things start to fly. The baggage, starts to fly out of the bins. I mean, we unfortunately have that experience. So I think first and foremost, safety is the most important asset you bring in terms of the weather. But, going back to where I started, reliability, I talk about we cancel cancellations. Really, the only reason we cancel these days is because of weather. And if we had better insight and intel in terms of where the weather's going, how is it going to predict, on the ground before we took off, it's not just making for a smoother ride in the air, it's actually making for more rides to be able to manage the air traffic space even more efficiently.
Well, Ed, I want to congratulate you, and I know what everyone will take away is the fundamentals you really worked on, and your team and you did a fantastic job. We all experience it in the fundamentals. And then building on top of that, the ideas of what you are already implementing for customer service are endless, and then the operational improvements, and then really in the end, it is about our trust and our confidence, which is what you've done a really great job. Thank you for bringing that to life.
And thank you, Ginni, for IBM and all the support you give us.
Our pleasure.
Well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
My friend? Okay. Now, I wanted to start with, Ed, something we all identify with here. And hopefully we're all going to have smoother flights now as a result of that. But my next guest is someone who we're going to delve deeper into one area of this deep data and what it means. And it's multiple sources, but it's across a really complex supply chain. And it's about food safety. Food safety for you and I, it's in all the headlines. Now, his company is one you know. It's Walmart. 265 million customers a week. And as you know, Walmart, 2.2 million associates. What you might not know is, as a grocery chain, $160 billion a year in the United States. And so joining me today is Charles Redfield, who is Walmart's head of food, the EVP of food. We're proud to be a partner with him working on some really innovative things, and one of them is food safety. So if you would join me in welcoming Charles up to the stage with me.
How you doing?
Sir? Okay, now, I thank Charles for being a really great client of ours, but I am as well a very good client of his, okay? As you can probably tell. And so, from looking at me. So, I really wanted to, we're going to delve into in a little bit more about food safety in particular. But I think the scale you operate at is so daunting. And you know, the food you provide, I won't even hesitate to guess for what percentage of the population it actually is. It's large. So I think everybody would be interested in understanding a little bit about the scale and the complexity of what that means to run a food business for the world.
Yeah, that's a great question. We try not to think about it that way, and the size of it. You know, Walmart's interesting in itself, just coming from humble beginnings in Bentonville, Arkansas, to the world's largest retail in itself. And I think it has a lot to do just with our core beliefs of taking care of the customer, right? And that's
well, you and Ed have this in common, right?
It is, and that's, you know, I think that's really the center focus of what we have and what we do. And, you know, with the size, scale, and complexity that we have, there's a lot of perks to that. There's also a lot of responsibility with it. You'd mentioned that we have 2.2 million associates around the world. That's a responsibility we take very seriously, right? We have to. We've got 11,000 stores across the world, 4,700 just in the U.S., and you know, we take our philanthropic responsibility serious as well. We donated 2.5 million pounds of food to hunger relief last year, and $38 million in just hurricane relief. So I got a cocktail fact for you. You said you like cocktail facts, I believe. We sell nearly 1.5 billion pounds of bananas each year.
Really?
Yeah.
To who?
To our customers.
Oh.
That's who buys them. Hopefully to you.
Bananas?
Not so much.
Not so much. Yeah.
Our customers love bananas. It'd be a good Trivial Pursuit question.
Yes.
But to your real question about just food overall, we try to keep things simple, right? We want products at an everyday low price. We want quality in our products that our customers can trust. We want to have it available when they come and shop with us. They want new, innovative items. They want a great experience. And what we're doing there is just investing in our business. Our customers told us, you know what, we need to get better in our fresh business. So we've invested there in produce, meat, bakery, and our deli areas. We're not there yet, but we still got a long ways to go. But you know what? They're telling us we're getting better. Online grocery pickup. In 2,100 stores today, customers can go in, order online, their mobile device or at home.
Yep.
Schedule a time to pick up, and when they come up to the store in 5 minutes or less, we'll have their grocery to them. Customers love it, and we're quickly expanding that, as well as delivery. We deliver into 100 metro markets already, and growing that as well. But man, does that create some challenges within business. Hundreds of millions of people coming through your doors each week, right? Then you've got pickup, then you've got delivery. I'll tell you what, running a food operation today is very different than it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, heck, even 3 years ago, for the most part. Another thing that I spend a lot of time in is surety of supply on food.
Yes.
Right? We're large, we're growing, and you think about where's that going to come from in the future. And so the next 3, 5, and 10 years is where we spend a lot of time because it's becoming a bigger problem. And finally, and you just mentioned it earlier, probably the number one thing is food safety. But that's why we're innovating with companies like IBM to ease those pressures and challenges for ourselves. But make no mistake about it, it's our responsibility to manage that and establish and build that trust with the customer.
So you mentioned trust a couple times, and I think it's important. So what Charles and I are going to dwell in on for you is food safety and all of the data in the blockchain. So let's frame for everybody, though, why is food safety at the top of your list? I think we each think of it as individual when we buy something and there's a recall. But in total, what does it mean for the world?
It costs people their lives.
Yep.
It costs people their business. It creates a lot of cost and disarray within the organization and in the world. And we've had a few this year. And I can speak to it pretty closely right now because we've dealt with it. It's costly in many, many ways that's not necessary.
So, as we were talking about this yesterday, the amount of food that goes to waste in the world, it's almost 30% of food is going to waste of some sort of way. So not just from food safety, but from all different ways. So there's lots of things to be done here. So talk about your approach now and the approach we have together to food safety.
Yeah, so, we've gone down the journey of blockchain, which we believe delivers a lot of value and again, builds trust with our customer. Our customers deserve safe products. They deserve to know where it comes from, right? We needed a solution that could deal with both big businesses, small businesses, varying skill sets, and we've done that with blockchain. It's pretty easy to use. You need an internet connection and a smart device. Most places have that. We believe it's cost effective, and that's something that's very dear to our heart. That's what we do at Walmart, make things cost effective for people. And it democratizes data. That trust and transparency through the supply chain is really, really important for us. And we really like where we've begun. We've been on this journey since 2017, Ginni. And in 2017, our food safety department came up and said, let's take this package of sliced mangoes and let's trace it from the shelf back to the farm. It took us 7 days to do that.
I know.
7 days in today's world.
We should have had the audience guess us, right?
We should have. Well, let's have them guess this. Okay. Guess how long it took when we put it through blockchain?
An hour, I heard?
2.2 seconds.
And
a week to 2.2 seconds.
And think about the breadth of suppliers you have for food, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, everyone I think thinks, these are just all big farms everywhere. That's not true. They're all sizes everywhere on the planet.
It's mostly small ones, to be honest with you, right? It's these small operations throughout the country and throughout the world that supply all our products, right? There's big ones, but there's many more small ones out there.
All right, so maybe share with the audience a little bit. So one of the things we've done together is when it comes to food safety, the number of people that die or are sick or the recalls, it's very large every year. And so what could we start to do? And one of the things Walmart's going to do is approach this by leafy green vegetables. We've done mangoes, we've done all different sorts of things, but you've now actually asked all your suppliers, leafy greens, romaine, arugula, I'm going to run out of kinds of leafy greens soon. Spinach.
You're doing great.
Spinach, bib, and
that must be what you eat, because you're not mentioning bananas, but that's good.
Okay, I obviously eat more greens. So you've asked all your suppliers to then come on and put those up on the blockchain.
Yeah.
So talk a bit about acceptance, deployment, what's that meant?
Yeah, so listen, change is hard, but as you and I know, the world's changing and changing quickly, right? And so we don't look at this as a competitive issue. We really don't. We look at this as a collaborative opportunity for everyone. Listen, we're all going to win or lose in this thing together. We are. It takes farmers, growers, distributors, retailers, and so on to get this done. And Ginni, as you well know, we work together to reach out to a lot of suppliers and to a lot of other retailers and say, come on board and come with this. You know what? All tides are going to rise with this type of thing. And we think it creates a lot of shared value. And think about these recalls. And when a recall happens, what happens?
Everybody throws everything out.
Everybody. The retail stores have to take it off the shelf, throw the product away, costs money to do that. Distribution centers have to do the same thing. Our suppliers lose a ton of business from that. In many cases, they're guilty until proven innocent, right? This is where speed matters. 2.2 seconds a week. It makes a difference. It can change the industry.
Yeah. Now, Charles said something interesting. I hope you caught it. This isn't just a Walmart initiative. So this isn't just Walmart and all of Walmart's suppliers. You mentioned other retailers. So this is competitors. I mean,
Absolutely.
So everyone out there. And in this way, I think of blockchain and all this data. What blockchain gives it all is a system of trust that can be out there. Because even though you're my competitor, and we can't ask the same small farmer to be doing multiple systems, that's not going to work.
That's absolutely.
But I can be assured that that data is not going to be changed, in that what Walmart can see, Kroger doesn't. And so that's the confidence that you guys have built in this system, and why everyone has agreed to opt in.
Absolutely, and we welcome it, and we're a big proponent of it.
Yes. So what do you see next now? So with blockchain, we already have started. So leafy greens, deadline's coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah,
right?
we this past September, we went to all of our leafy green suppliers and required them to provide real-time, end-to-end traceability to the farm and do it by October of this year. Now, I got to tell you, when we require suppliers to do that, that's usually not real comfortable for them. But we've had very little pushback on this. I think it goes back to that shared value that we talked a little bit earlier. And we're well on our way down that road, and we're in discussions with suppliers who have blockchain today of what's next. And what you'll see is you'll see us go into different commodities in different departments that we're working on right now and continue to expand this. I tell you what, Ginny, we at Walmart, we're committed to transformation, and we're committed to transparency. We really believe in that. It's good for the customer, and when it's good for the customer, it's good for our business.
Yeah, this is, to me this is interesting. We've talked about the safety side of it. So how do you see what the consumer wants? Because again, back to all of this information, one is for my safety, but it's more than safety too, because you think you'll see a day when people want to know where their food came from, not just for safety. So what do you see already on that?
Absolutely. We're seeing it today, already.
At everyday prices, not just premium.
No way. You know what? Any type of product, we're a little strange at Walmart. We like to just go into stores and watch people shop. So if you ever see any of us, just someone who's just watching people down the aisle, we watch people and watch how they shop. And the amount of people that just shop and turn and reading labels today are more so than I've ever seen. We stand at the front end, watch what they buy, but watching how people shop continues to change. And the time they're spending on themselves, educating themselves of where this product came from, what's it contain, it's becoming much, much more important on their list and how they make decisions, not only about what they buy, but where they buy it.
One of the suppliers is part of this that have been working on the blockchain is Nestle. And they're obviously a big producer or supplier to Walmart. And what they've said is, well, could actually something like loyalty and this trust replace the loyalty that comes from a brand? Could the trust that I get, so as an example, what they're tracing and tracking, not just for food safety, is if you buy some baby food, and it's, what do poor babies have to eat? Peas mixed with pears, something to make the pea palatable. And so it's got every farm that this came from. And so as a byproduct of doing it for food safety is the idea then that really I can tell and have confidence of where this food came from. And therefore I think it's just one of the many different things we're going to see, because that data is so rich, and it will only get better, because today, as you said, you need a cell phone, right? So I know what farm, what row, but that will all become much, much more, really automated down to the very minute point, that this temperature that the strawberries traveled at, et cetera, all the way through this. So you'll be able to do more than just obviously food safety. In their case, I think it's an idea of, hey, can I build trust with you? And therefore that's a form of loyalty, because you've got confidence, which 8 farms produced this little jar of baby food.
Yeah, it's such a good point, because when you have 4,700 stores across the United States or 11,000 across the world, it's not easy to build trust, but you can get very local, very specific in a very large chain by doing things like this.
Yeah.
And that's why we like this so
much.
Well,
look, Charles, I thank you for really shedding light, I think, on something people either think is a bit of a mystery, food safety, but that, no, actually, we can find the row, the tree, and therefore we'll save a lot of lives, and we're going to save a lot of produce. And I think you've also shed light on the side around what everything Walmart's doing to transform. And you talked a lot about your online grocery, your online pickup. I was complimenting Charles on his most recent TV commercials showing all the different cars pulling in. They're funny to pick up, but it's a sign of how all of this deep data has changed every part of how a Walmart is operating, and much more to come, right?
Yep,
so
it is exciting.
Thank you for taking the time to share that. It's great for everyone in here, and it is scaling these technologies, which is what really matters. So thank you for doing that, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. Well done.
Well done.
See you next week. See you next week. Okay, so let me get my glasses back on. As I said, fun. I hope fun and fast. So that's about what is next. And you know, what you just saw here is something, it doesn't just benefit Walmart, this is to benefit all of us. So I kind of want to wrap the what's next in data, which is this promise of deep data that's out there. But it's only half the equation. The other half of the equation is, okay, what's next in computing? And so to help me do that discussion, I want to bring up one of my own teammates. I'm going to bring up IBM's head of research, Dr. Dario Gil, who's head of our AI and our quantum research. And I want you to hear from him what's next on what is these systems going to look like that handles the massive amount of data and actually can do something with it that we've talked about. So Dario, come on out here with me. Come on. All right, my friend. Okay, so I'm going to ask Dario. Okay, lovely music. Okay, I'm going to ask Dario a couple questions, and we're going to also be joined by another great guest. So first, look, this is so common sense. All this data is only any good if you can get some insights out of it. And we're all talking about AI. We've been hard at work at AI for a very long time. But I actually want you to talk about what's next, right? So how do you describe to everyone, where is the world on its maturity of AI, and what's next? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so I would suggest that to offer a taxonomy of a narrow form of AI, a broad form of AI, and a general form of AI. The short summary of it is the narrow form of AI has become really good about learning one task in one domain. A broad form of AI would be of the kind that can learn many tasks within a domain. And a general form of AI would be a type of AI, like a type of intelligence like we possess, more human-like. So let me elaborate a little bit on each form. In narrow AI is the type of AI that we have seen with deep learning that is able to achieve superhuman accuracy performance in its predictive power if you give it enough supervised learning examples. So typically, we would require to have tens of thousands or even millions of label examples. But the power of it is that it can learn the rules of whatever system we're trying to predict automatically. That's a big contrast with the sort of handwritten rule system that we traditionally created with software. And it really works much better when you have a setting like that. Now, if we contrast that with general AI.
At the other end of the spectrum.
The other end of the spectrum, right?
How we operate.
Human-like intelligence. If you think about it, we're really good. We're intelligent across not just one task in one domain. Many tasks, many domains. We have autonomy. We have reasoning. We have agency. So this is the type of AI that we see in science fiction movies. And the reality is we're likely decades away.
Decades away.
So if we have narrow AI today and general AI is likely decades away, what's next? What's next is broad AI. And it's going to be built on three foundations. One, it recognizes...
Let me ask the audience. Who's heard of broad AI? Okay. Hardly anyone.
Hardly anyone.
So explain it.
Yeah, so this is important because very often we have these discussions where we're confusing all the terms and we're speaking past each other when we're saying narrow and general. So I think it's very important that we start offering what is next. And what is next on these three foundations is, one, it recognizes that learning is not enough, that you have to bring learning and reasoning together. So broad AI will unify learning and reasoning so that we can learn from less examples and across more tasks in a domain. Second one, it has to be scalable AI, because we're going to bring in these non-deterministic models into our applications and workflows. So we need to have mechanisms and tooling to scale it and to make it more economical. And that is going to be driven by automated programming and specialized AI hardware. And the third component that it realizes is that it's not just about accuracy. It's about making it trusted AI. And trusted AI is built on the foundations of making it explainable, that it has lineage, so we can see how the decisions were made over time, that it's fair, and that it's secure, and that we can trust it.
But I jump from, as I think about this in our business and what we do with our clients, on narrow AI, as you said, I can do one thing, one domain. I can do it really great, by the way. So I can identify, if I'm an insurance company, I can identify a roof, all different kind of rooftops. Been trained with lots of pictures. In broad AI, the difference is I'll be able to jump pretty fast to, if hail hit a roof, I'll know what it means on every other roof out there. I don't have to train on hail every single roof that's out there.
So that's an example of generalizing some.
It gets to then what does it do? So now I can kind of jump to another task in the same domain. I've actually, with broad AI, I can jump over and teach myself is how it works. So what do you think, well, therefore for business, what's the benefit?
Well, I think the fundamental benefit is if you look at in how many times we have millions of hand-annotated label examples to train, it's not that often. So for a business, if we can learn with less data, that is really powerful. And if we can reason more broadly, that is very powerful too.
All right, so broad AI, guys, is going to give us time to market and a lot less training data that's out there. So they're going to see some things out here that kind of push the border on what's broad AI. So why don't you talk a little bit about what they're going to go see on the floor?
Yeah, so one example we'd like to share is a project that we have been developing and incubating at IBM Research for the last 6 years called Project Debater. And it really pushes the boundary of where AI is. And it is a system that we have created that can engage in full live debate with humans on topics it has never seen before. So let me contrast it with a narrow AI capability for a minute. If you have a smart speaker and you give it a command, play the radio, hopefully it goes and does that action. Now in Project Debater, you also give it one command, so to speak, the topic you want to debate. So let's say we were debating social media does more harm than good as a topic. A controversial topic you bring forth with what's just one sentence. It has to generate a 4-minute opening speech, essentially write an essay and deliver it persuasively. The human then will generate their 4-minute opening speech, and the system has to be listening for that 4 minutes. Now, you try to talk 4 minutes to a smart speaker today and see what you get in return, right? It's tricky.
Okay, all right.
So once you get that, it has to generate a 4-minute rebuttal based on what it has heard. So today we're unveiling an experience, a digital experience called Speech by Crowd that you can all try out.
You're the crowd, Speech by Crowd.
Yeah, Speech by Crowd. So what it does, it basically engages a large crowd on arguments that they put forth on controversial topics. And the system then incorporates all of those arguments, and it has to automatically construct a well-crafted narrative. Pick the best arguments, remove the things that are duplicative, concatenate them so that they're compelling and create a structure, and it does that on its own. So every day during this week in CES, we're going to have a topic that we're going to open to anybody who wants to participate, and check out at the end of every day whether your arguments were selected and the speech that gets generated.
And today's topic?
Today's topic, given that we're in Vegas, is going to be a nice controversial topic on whether gambling should be banned. So.
How's that?
Go and give it your best shot.
We may not be allowed back in Vegas after we propose these arguments, okay? But,
probably not.
Yeah, okay. So this idea of, I wanted to introduce that idea of broad AI to you. And again, to a business it means less training time and therefore better time to market. That's how I'd put it simply. Now talk about quantum. Everyone talks about it, but just explain, I hope in layman's terms, if not I will then jump in, on quantum and what is the opportunity here, and then we'll be joined by a friend.
Yes. So, so here's an open secret, the fact that our computers are not good at everything. And there's actually problems in the world that they simply cannot touch. And it doesn't matter how many transistors we throw at them or how much data and AI we have available. They're simply intractable problems. And here's where quantum comes in. It's actually a fundamentally new form of computation. And it brings together two worlds, the worlds of information and the worlds of quantum physics. And it turns out that the bit, these zeros and ones that we're accustomed in our classical world, are not the basic building blocks of computational information, but rather something called the qubit, short for quantum bit. And just like a classical computer creates and manipulates bits, a quantum computer creates and manipulates qubits. And as a result of that, it exploits three principles from physics: the principle of superposition, the principle of entanglement, and the principle of interference.
I'm sure everyone knows what those are.
Everyone knows.
Of course.
It's like top of our tongue. But as a result of that, you can solve problems that would be, enormously difficult to do it classically because you're using the system. Now, these qubits, you're seeing an example here of a qubit. It's a quantum processor. And for us, the type of technology we use at IBM, they operate at cryogenic temperatures. So they operate at about 15 millikelvin, and that is 100 times colder than outer space. This is what one of the enclosed quantum systems looks like. And a few years back, we were the first company in the world, in May 2016 to be exact, to put quantum computational capability on the cloud.
Well, you can't put it in your living room.
You can't put, yeah.
No, you cannot.
Hard
it has
to
to be on
operate.
the cloud.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's actually one of the coldest places in the universe, so it's good to have it somewhere else.
Yes.
So since then, when we put it out, a community is emerging to learn how to code and program these kinds of systems. And over 100,000 users in more than 150 countries have run 6.7 million programs on them. And you're seeing a map of the users of the IBM Q experience. And they've generated over 130 scientific publications exploring the applications of quantum to chemistry and machine learning and financial risk, etc. So today we have a very exciting announcement to share with all of you, and that is the launch of IBM Q System One. And it's the world's first integrated quantum system. It's a system that we have designed from the ground up, based on all the learnings of the last 2.5 years. It contains the latest generation of our quantum processor. It is designed to be stable, and it has very advanced auto-calibration, so it delivers high-quality qubits in a repeatable fashion. It integrates custom-designed IBM quantum electronics for the system, and it's also optimized against a full software stack called Qiskit, which is the most widely adopted quantum open-source environment in the world. So, and I hope you will also agree that it's a beautiful piece of industrial design, and our company has a wonderful heritage of industrial design in doing that. So it's a really proud moment, and I think an inflection point in the field. Now, what do you do with it? So we created an instrument last December to get the world quantum ready, because we have to learn how to program these systems anew, and also to explore use cases. Since then, we have over 42 institutions who have joined the IBM Q network to explore and get to this future of quantum advantage, which will be the moment where we will exploit quantum computing for scientific and commercial advantage. And it is my great pleasure to invite the latest member of the IBM Q network and the first energy company to join the Q network, ExxonMobil. And I'm going to invite now Dr. Vijay Swarup on stage to tell us about what is the relationship between computation and energy, and specifically quantum computing and energy. Vijay?
Vijay, come on out. Vijay? Yeah.
So Vijay, first, thank you for the partnership.
Thank you.
And I would like to explore, because it might not seem a priori obvious, the relationship between computation and energy, and specifically quantum. So why is this strategic for you?
Yeah, well, Dario, Ginni, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share the stage with you, and thank you all for coming out. Let me first address your question by talking a little bit about energy. Energy is a technical industry, and to solve energy, to provide affordable, reliable, scalable energy, we have to integrate essentially every science and every engineering capability out there. Energy is everywhere. In fact, if you look at this room, everything here is underpinned by energy in one form or another. And today we're faced with the dual challenge. The dual challenge being continuing to provide affordable, scalable energy while addressing the risks of climate change. That's why we have portfolios around biofuels and carbon capture and things like that. And we have to continue to do more. Now, there's a rich history of computational capabilities and computers and energy integrating together. In fact, our corporations have a history that goes back to the 1950s, from solving partial differential equations and characterizing at the molecular level what is contained in a barrel of oil. We've been pioneers in this space, and today we continue doing that. We can model a reservoir using over 700,000 processors. We can sequence a genome faster and faster and faster, which is what's underpinning our algae breakthroughs, which could potentially give us scalable biofuels. So we've made tremendous progress using computers and computational capabilities, many of which were done through collaboration of our scientists. But we need to do more. And just like you said, we need a paradigm shift. And that's where quantum comes in. So let's think about quantum across two platforms. One which has already been talked about today a number of times, which is optimization. Our systems continue to get more complex. So whether you're optimizing a power grid or you're trying to get more efficient in your refining chemical complex, you are constantly looking to optimize more. And that one sort of is obvious. The second one, though, is more specific to energy. And that is being able to understand energy, which is chemistry and physics, at that most fundamental level, at the atomic scale, which we can't do today. We have predictors, but we don't actually know.
Yeah, Vijay, I want to interrupt you a second. I think for an audience to understand that people think that everything can be modeled today, and it actually cannot. It's why you have wet labs in biology. It's why drug discovery takes so long. These are all approximations, these models. It's why systemic risk, it can't be modeled fast enough in the time frame to be useful. You run out of capacity. And so it's these problems that you're about to say are going to be the first up for quantum, because they actually can't be done by the traditional, right? And I was just saying to Vijay, we were talking over coffee, to model a molecule of caffeine would take a computer that is the volume of 1/10 of the Earth if you were really going to do it, not have an approximation. So pick back up on now the chemistry part.
The chemistry part of it, right? Because caffeine's important to all of us. But let's talk about addressing.
So is fuel, okay?
let's talk about addressing the dual challenge, okay? Which is going to require a new set of technical solutions. Which means we have to go back to fundamentals. Because to get to scale, you really have to start at the atomic level. And so let's think about two areas where we think you could make huge impacts. First is carbon capture. You all know what carbon capture is. Take CO2, capture it, concentrate it so that it can be sequestered, put away safely, or utilized to make another product. But we need materials to do that. So what are you doing in this material? You are trying to get the CO2 to come through a material, and you need to be able to model that. So if you can understand the diffusion, the absorption, if you can understand those fundamental concepts, you can then design a material that will be far more efficient that could potentially get you to carbon capture at scale. The other is we're going to continue to need fuels, we're going to continue to need plastics, we're going to continue to need the products that underpin the quality of our lives. To do that, we're going to have to get more efficient, which means we're going to have to understand more around conversion chemistries, more around what is actually happening in these big reactors where we're taking a product and turning it into another product. By doing that at the atomic scale, by getting those models to be more accurate, not just predictors, but accurate predictors, that could be a huge breakthrough. And those two components are just a couple of examples of the intersection of quantum and energy. So we're just so excited to be the first energy company to work with you. We're building off of decades long of getting the best scientists from our company, working with the best scientists from your company. And that's what we need to do to solve this dual challenge, to get energy to people while mitigating the risk of climate change. We need the best scientists to collaborate. This is the time to collaborate, the time for people to come together. And this is just building off a rich tradition, and we're so excited to do this, and we really appreciate the opportunity to come up here and talk a little bit about how quantum can enable some new energy solutions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you guys both for describing this.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you guys. Now, I hope you took away on the what next for computing. The things we're talking about here, we're not a decade away. We're 2 to 5 years away, that these are really going to be impacting all of you here today. And so when I say impacting everyone, I want to wrap up on a last section that I actually think is the underpinning that's the most important. And it is what is next for society. You know, you've seen a lot of great examples, great examples about making our lives better here. At IBM, I think we've always known our job begins with technology, but it doesn't end there. And that to be trusted, it means that you have to prepare society for whatever set of technologies it is that are coming along. And particularly now, so no one's left behind. And that everyone, as I like to say, the many, not the few, can participate in all the benefits of this world. Now, there's much discussion about AI. AI, will it destroy jobs? Will it build jobs? I know it will do both. But I know something else that's absolutely positive. 100% of jobs will be different. 100% of what we do will be changed by this. So how do we all get our current workforces, the new workforces, retraining of workforces, how do we get ready? And so I wanted to share a couple of what I call public-private partnership things that we're doing in scaling, and make an announcement here as well, and really encourage everyone in here to continue on the ones that they're doing. So one is something called PTech schools, Pathway to Technology. It's something we started in Brooklyn. It was just 8 years ago. What it is, think of it as a 6-year high school. At the same time, you get a high school degree and you get an associate degree. No student debt. Already, we've been at it now a while. Graduation rates, 400% greater than community colleges. There are now 200 of these high schools in 11 states, 13 countries, 125,000 kids coming through a pipeline. Now, what are they? It's a different path. We called it, in fact, new-collar jobs, trying to say there's not a stigma in not necessarily having to have a 4-year college degree. You can see I've got many PhDs, got many of the others, but there's so many jobs that can be done at this intersection of technology. And in fact, new-collar meant not white-collar, not blue-collar, something good, and at good pay to participate in this economy. Another way to retrain people is apprenticeships. Now, we started with the U.S. Department of Labor in formal apprenticeships in 2017. Think of it as 12 to 18 months. You get an IBM mentor, you work IBM projects, you do classical education, but you're getting paid at the same time. You get the skills, you have no debt. So today we're announcing, with Gary's team, the CTA Apprenticeship Coalition. It's a long list of companies. It includes Walmart, it includes Sprint, Ford, Canon, Toyota, a big group here. And everyone's committed to scale these apprenticeships. We do almost 500 a year now already. And to demonstrate the power of it, I want to end, if I think of my first 2 chapters of my keynote to you, we're sort of speaking from my head and our head. I'd like to end this last part more speaking from my heart. And I'd like to welcome to the stage 5 IBMers I'm very proud of. But they represent, I think, everyone out here. They came to technology through very different paths, very non-traditional paths. And they each have a unique story to tell you. But this, to me, is what it means to build an inclusive society. So let me introduce 5 of my colleagues to you quickly. Guys, come on out here. Now.
Hello, nice to see you.
All right, nice, everyone. Now, be gentle as an audience. You can imagine they're not out in front of big groups every day here, right? Okay. So these are folks that have joined us. And instead of me telling you about each one of them, we're going to start with Tony. I'm going to ask each one to introduce themselves, tell you how they landed at IBM in technology, and what they're working on now. So Tony Bird, I'm going to start with you.
Hello.
First up. They look like they're in a firing lineup, okay? So, you guys can all relax.
So my name is Tony Bird, and my story is more about coming from coffee to coding. So before joining the apprenticeship, I worked at the IBM location in Raleigh, North Carolina, building 500 at a coffee shop. And over those 7 years, I just built relationships.
In fact, a barista at Starbucks.
A barista at Starbucks. Over the 7 years, I built the relationship with a lot of the IBMers, and they would encourage me to take this route, to test it out, see if it was something that I would like. And it's something I'd enjoy, so I appreciate the opportunity. And now I'm actually working on the IBM Cloud in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And now you're coding.
Now I'm coding.
Coffee to coding.
Coffee to coding.
You love it?
Yes, ma'am. It's great.
First one. Suriana Rodriguez, your story's different.
Yes. I'm Suriana Rodriguez, and my story is about the American dream. I am a dreamer. I was brought to the United States when I was 6 years old, and before landing at IBM, I was a P-Tech student at Newburgh, New York. I was part of the first class, and I actually had an internship at IBM Poughkeepsie under the GPFS team. And then I graduated a couple months ago with both degrees. And now I am working as a lab technician apprentice at IBM Poughkeepsie, working on mainframes.
So I have to tell you a little, on Suriana, and I don't think I'm breaking a law by telling you this, she's 18. So when we talk about the P-Tech schools, these are as fast as she could. She got her high school degree and her associate degree. It doesn't have to be the full amount of time. So she's one of our great graduates out of the first school that did that and has made a great contribution. Okay, so entirely different story, Brandon Wolf.
My name's Brandon Wolf. I am an Air Force veteran. I found the IBM apprenticeship in Rocket Center, West Virginia a couple months ago. Prior to this, I worked at the FBI as a program analyst. Currently, I am supporting federal clients for our managed security services.
And I asked Brendan, now what took you to technology? I said, are you like in the witness protection program now if you were at the FBI? He assured me that is not the case, right?
No, that is not the case.
But you made the jump career-wise.
I did.
As a result of an apprenticeship.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Kimberly Duran.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Duran. My story goes from me being a writer to becoming a mainframe apprentice. So before I worked at IBM, I was actually writing a fiction novel. I self-published it as well. And then since that didn't make enough, I also started working in an office. And so once I realized I was not happy at the office, I wanted something that was more challenging, something that would be more fulfilling. And so I had a couple of friends that told me about this apprenticeship at IBM. I thought it would be a great opportunity, so I jumped at the chance, and I've loved it. Right now I'm working on learning the IMS field, but I'm also learning coding and mainframe security and all that stuff.
Now, you were writing nonfiction or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction. Do you find that we do a lot of fiction at work here? No?
No.
But to me, it is so, your story is so emblematic of everyone who wants to move from, they look and they say, I love what I do, but I also need to make a good living too. And I'm going to look for something to kind of add to that, right? So that's there. Now, Ryan Reed, entirely different path. Ryan?
Hi, my name's Ryan Reed. I'm a software engineer apprentice at RTP in Raleigh. Before this, I was a firefighter paramedic for 15 years. I had an on-the-job injury. I was in the fire service. As you see, mobile data terminals, thermal imaging cameras, air monitoring equipment, all the technology hit the fire trucks. So I had an interest in technology, I had a passion in technology. Looked at going back to school and actually started back to school, pursuing a degree so that I could get into the tech field, was applying for tech jobs and things at the same time. Saw the IBM apprenticeship program. They weren't really interested in a degree or no degree. They were interested in my passion for technology. So I was able to step into a role there, and now I'm working on some applications in the IBM cloud.
So, meet. So, I just wanted you to get a sense. I couldn't be prouder of these IBMers. And I think they represent, for the whole world, what is the challenge of our time. It will be skills. These will be wonderful technologies, but they will come with their challenges. And we've got to have everyone from every walk of life who wants to participate in this, participate in it. And as I said, I couldn't be prouder for you guys to be IBMers. So thank you for joining and sharing your stories. I know it's a hard thing to do to get up there and do, so thank you for doing it for this crowd. Thank you. I'll let you guys head off. So, the last hour. Our last hour was, what's next? So when it came to data, I hope you take away actually deep data is what's next. Compute, you could see this big step forward to broad AI that's going to bring much more value to business, and quantum computing. And then in society, how do we all help prepare everyone for this? Because as I just said a second ago, these tools, they're so powerful. They will solve some of the most enduring problems like food safety, waste. But like all powerful tools, we have got to usher them safely into society. And I really do believe trust and security will be the preconditions for this era to thrive. And a competitive differentiator for all, you heard this through my guests, it will be trust. And so I want to end on this point that we codified at IBM something called Principles for Trust and Transparency. We've lived by them, we try to live up to them every single day for our 108 years. And I thought, in the spirit of New Year's resolutions, I'd share mine with you, these principles. I'd invite you to either adopt them or build your own. But the first one is that all of us that work on these technologies, that we always remember their purpose of these technologies is to augment man. It is not to replace man. We have a lot to do with that. The second is all that data that we've talked about, that ownership of data, the data in those insights, they belong to the owner, and with their permission, we use them. And the third is to ensure these technologies, you heard it, that they're open, they're transparent, but more than anything, that they're explainable and they are free of bias. And those are the principles, I think, that'll bring this world to life. And I know that when we all do this, the what's next we got to talk about this morning, it is a really exciting era ahead. So, I thank so many of you that are IBM clients. I thank you for both your history with us, for working with us through transformation, and now to a great future ahead. It is a journey that I know I couldn't be more excited about today than I was the first day I started. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you at the rest of the conference.